Time for an oil change? Head to Jiffy Lube. We've got you covered. We've also got you covered when it comes to oil changes, thanks to Pennzoil Synthetic Motor Oil, getting you back on the road in a jiffy. Jiffy Lube. Leave worry behind.
Few things to look forward to on today's NFL Live. We have the Long brothers. Chris and Kyle found out what the brothers are up to this summer and what it's like growing up with a Hall of Fame father. And Chris helped the Eagles get their first Super Bowl victory. 12 teams in the league still looking for that elusive first championship. We'll find out who is the most likely to get there this season. Welcome to NFL Live. Jeff Darlington, the homecoming king.
Oh, hey.
That was even before
that was a great introduction. Homecoming king.
And that was pre-scruff, too. Let the record reflect. 3-time Super Bowl champ. You know Wood. And, of course, how about today, man? We have a 3-time Pro Bowl running back. We have DeMarco Murray in the building with us. So what has this offseason been like for you? What are the 2018 plans?
It's been great. Obviously, I've been patient trying to find the right fit for 2018 upcoming season. And for me, it's all about finding the right fit. I've been enjoying my family time, enjoying getting to work, getting my body refreshed, refocused, and ready to go for the 2018 season, and enjoying being an analyst up here.
I mean, this guy's 2 seasons removed from more than 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
It's going to make some team very happy, Jack.
This guy sounds like he could run for president already. He's one hit in. Here we go. This coming Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern time, is the deadline for any club that designated a franchise player to sign that player to a multi-year contract or extension. 4 players were franchised and are still looking for a long-term deal. Le'Veon Bell, DeMarcus Lawrence, Ziggy Ansah, and LaMarcus Joyner are those 4 players. So, Jeff, what is the latest right now with most important Le'Veon Bell?
Le'Veon Bell is by far the most important as we approach this July 16th deadline. And based on my conversations, I do believe it is very possible and there will be a push made to get this done. Now, when you speak to people in Bell's camp, there are 2 inevitabilities that seem, I call them inevitabilities, but they could always change. So I guess they're not that, but 2 of which. One of which is do not expect him, if they don't get a deal done, to be there for training camp. I would anticipate, just like last year, he won't be there until the first week of September. The second of which, far more drastic and perhaps more speculative on those in his camp, is that if he doesn't get this deal done, there's a belief that he's no longer going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler after this year. They have tagged him not once, but twice. And there are people around him who are saying, what gives anybody the belief that if they tag him twice, that the Pittsburgh Steelers are finally going to pony up right on the brink of his free agency? So, the first of which is very believable. Don't expect to see him until September if they don't get this deal done. The second of which, though, that's the one that I'm sure, we can talk about all season long. But it feels real to me, I'll tell you that much.
Listen, I look at this whole situation. I think about the window of opportunity this team has right now.
That's right.
Listen, Le'Veon Bell, probably the best running back in football right now, Antonio Brown, and Ben Roethlisberger, whose window is not closing. It's almost about to slam shut. They got to find a way to get these guys on the field and win a championship, because they're going to at some point, if they don't win this championship this year or next year, they're always going to regret the moment they had this team being talent laden.
I can jump in on that. Similar situation to when I was in 2014. Myself, Dez Bryant, Jason Witten, Tony Romo. We had the core guys. They have the core guys in Ben, AB, and Le'Veon. If you can get this guy signed, he deserves it. I know he's frustrated, but if you can get this guy a deal done and let those 3 guys stay, hopefully win you another Super Bowl, I think that would be great for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
DeMarco, what would be your reaction to getting franchised back-to-back years?
Frustration. I think that's the first thing that jumps off the bat is frustration. First year, you can deal with it. Coming off a suspension, injury in his case, but 2 years, back-to-back, he's arguably one of the best running backs in the NFL, if not the best. So you got to get a deal done for this guy. He deserves it.
I should point out, I put a little bit of a negative tone on that. The good news is that Bell has told our Jeremy Fowler in the past month that he feels like they're further along this year than they were at this time last year. And the Steelers are not prone to overpay guys, especially on guaranteed money over several different years. But it does feel like there is some promise here that this thing could get done.
As a running back, they should overpay this guy. He deserves it. He deserves to be overpaid.
He deserves that.
I mean, he catches it, he blocks. He's the offense.
Or at least they should have paid him after 2014, too.
Every running back says that, man. You should pay the guy. And you're right, man. I think the one thing you do when you game plan the Pittsburgh Steelers, first thing you have to do is stop the running game.
That's right.
And who's that? You got to stop Le'Veon Bell because he's the tone setter of that offense. Without him, now you can double AB. You don't have to walk that guy in a box. So you have to get this guy signed.
If you were there in 2015 and Tony stays healthy, I mean, who knows what that Cowboys team.
I would have had one of those shiny rings that Darren had. The Super Bowl.
I truly actually.
I got two more, too. I know. If Romo would have stayed healthy.
Top 5.
We'd all be drunk.
Top 5 running backs coming up later in the show. Other franchise tag situations going on. Let's go with the Lions defensive end, Ziggy Ansah.
Okay. So the Ziggy Ansah one is most interesting because Matt Patricia's presence. Now, not that Patricia's making roster decisions here, but he is going to want to find out if this guy fits his scheme before he pays him too much money. $17 million on the franchise tag, that is quite a bit of a rental fee on a trial basis. But as Bill Belichick taught Matt Patricia, the best ability is availability. Ansah has dealt with injuries at times, so that's something that Patricia also wants to see. I'd be surprised if that gets done by July 16th deadline.
Let's go DeMarcus Lawrence with the Cowboys.
DeMarcus Lawrence, source told me just last night that don't bet on this thing getting done by July 16th. It does not feel like these two sides are nearly close enough for the long-term deal. And we should also point out there are several other pass rushers that are trying to get big deals, like Khalil Mack, like Aaron Donald, who plays in a slightly different position, but still guys that ultimately are going to set the market in terms of the sack master production that DeMarcus Lawrence is saying, hey, you know what? If you don't want to do that, I'm going to go out and prove myself, get 14-plus sacks this year, and get paid. One other point, his agent, David Cannon, represented Olivier Vernon, and he also got paid. There's a blueprint out there.
Hey, look, if you're the Cowboys, I don't know if I want to wait. I definitely don't want to wait with those guys setting the market.
That's right.
I want to take care of them right now. And what we forget about DeMarcus Lawrence is this. Everyone says, well, he had a great year last year, of course, being the sack leader for the Cowboys and in the league. But at the same time, the year before, he was hurt. And the Cowboys are saying, well, he was hurt that year, didn't play a full season. Well, he was banged up and played with a bad back the entire season.
That's right.
So you know the commitment is there for him to be a football player. And it's always about availability. If you can get out on the football field and risk the chances of getting hurt, he went through that process. He went through the process of playing week in and week out, banged up. That shows his commitment to the football.
DeMarco, you were teammates with Lawrence, not for long. What was it, maybe 1 year, and he was banged up. What's your opinion of what he's turned into?
Very relentless. Obviously a great pass rusher. Had an unbelievable year last year. But you mentioned Ansah, you mentioned Khalil Mack. Those guys, multiple Pro Bowls. He's had one. Mm-hmm. He has to do it for more than 1 year to get the big contract, but he's a guy who has a very, very bright future, so hopefully he gets signed.
That's fair, but you make a really good point. You better be careful.
Because
if you want to get that, if he does prove it for you one more year, you shot yourself in the foot because now you're having to pay him.
And what is everyone looking for right now?
Pass rushers.
Absolutely.
Quarterback pressure.
Get the guy signed now.
Yeah. He's had some sacks.
You always hear the players, get them signed now.
Right.
Get them signed now.
He's had some sacks. 14 and a half sacks last season, not only a career high for him, but they were more than he has had in his first 3 seasons combined. It was almost the most sacks by any player in Cowboys history since DeMarcus Ware. It was the most since DeMarcus Ware had 19 and a half back in 2011. Only issue that I see there is it was in the contract year. It was in the contract year. Other news we have going on. Bills running back LaShawn McCoy hired prominent Atlanta defense attorney Don Samuel amid a police investigation into a home invasion Tuesday. The invasion sent McCoy's former girlfriend to the hospital after she was allegedly beaten and robbed of jewelry. Police have not named any suspects in the investigation. Samuel has represented high-profile clients in the past, including Ray Lewis. McCoy denied accusations made on social media Tuesday by a friend of the victim that he was responsible for her injuries. So we'll go to Jeff now. What is the latest with McCoy?
Well, I can tell you, you just saw there that LaShawn McCoy has, in fact, denied these allegations. He has done so also with the Buffalo Bills organization. That's what I'm being told. So important to keep that in mind as we move forward. The Bills feel like LaShawn McCoy has been exactly what they've expected of him as a player on and off the field since he arrived with the Bills. And as such, they feel the need to listen and believe in their player. They also don't have their head in the sand. They will continue to monitor the NFL's investigation and, perhaps more importantly, the police investigation. This is certainly not going away, and I don't get any sense that the Bills are sitting there saying it's nothing to worry about, we're not paying attention to it. I just feel like they are trying to maintain some patience with the guy that they do believe in.
Any details we have on this, we will, of course, bring to you as soon as we get them. The Eagles finally won their first Super Bowl in franchise history.
Dog match right here. And we've been underdogs all year, and most of us our entire lives. We're not here to just, wave and smile. We're here to compete.
He flips it to Bowles on the right side of the end zone for a touchdown. Back goes Bowles. Fires. Slant. Touchdown. Brady back again. He steps up his head. And he fumbles the football, and the Eagles have it. The game is over. The game is over.
The first team in Eagles history to hold that freaking trophy.
The city bleeds and dies for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Philadelphia Eagles, for the first time in their history, are Super Bowl champions.
We'll have one of those underdogs join us live on NFL Live here in just a minute. But after their win over the Patriots, the Eagles now off the list. A good list to be off. The teams who have never won a Super Bowl. We're now down to 12 teams that have never done it, led by the Vikings and the Bills with 4 losses apiece. Throughout our show today, we're looking at those 12 teams and what their chances are in 2018. 3 of these teams have been right there the last 3 seasons. Last year, the Vikings, 13-3, and would have hosted the Super Bowl, but lost in the NFC Championship game. And in the previous year, the Falcons had a 28-3 lead in Super Bowl 51. Then that score went on a t-shirt. And in 2015, the Panthers 15-1. Dream season ended with a Super Bowl 50 loss to the Sheriff and his Broncos. You may remember that strip sack from Von Miller. So we already have our NFL analysts. We have the whole crew to determine the most likely first-time Super Bowl champion this coming season. They ranked the teams. They went 12 least to number 1, the most likely. We went all the way through it. We started at the bottom, and it was the Buffalo Bills who lost the Super Bowl a record 4 consecutive years. Buffalo came the closest to winning their first Super Bowl appearance in Super Bowl 25 against the Giants. Here you go.
Waiting for the snap. Right. Arm extended. Puts it down. On the way. It's long enough. And it is no good. So, you win some, you lose some.
Don't feel bad. It wasn't winning big. You guys played hard. Forget it.
We all realize the sun's going to come up tomorrow. I'm dedicating next season to the fans of Buffalo.
So the Bills would go on to lose.
Tough, man. That's tough to watch.
Well, let's see that finger of yours, man.
Hey,
that's what it's all about. They would go on to lose. They would go on to lose the latter 2 by way of Darren Woodson. And so there you go. So we're sitting here and we have the Bills coming in at 11th on the list.
Yeah.
They made the playoffs last year for the first time. The great party in the locker room. We all saw it. Why are they now back down to 12?
Well, you got to look at the quarterback position for one. To lose Tyrod Taylor, he goes on to the Cleveland Browns, and now you're starting off all over again at the quarterback position. And I think the Bills understand where they are as far as their identity right now. They were a playoff team last year. They know they're going to take a step back. But I guarantee you this team, and the way it's built right now, they're going to take another step forward after this season. I think they just need to get this under their belt. But the quarterback position is going to be a problem for them this year.
What are some of the plays you remember most from that game?
You know, there were a couple plays. First, in Super Bowl 27, it was the Ken Norton stop at the goal line. And it was, picture perfect for a linebacker. The way he played this, knew exactly what was coming, scraped across, and met Kenneth Davis in the hole. That was, Ken Norton was the guy who set the tone for our football team. And for him to make this play, it turned the entire game around. And not only did this one happen, but then you come around that next play over, and it's a play we practiced the entire week. It was called the roll arrow curl, and Thomas Everett gets the interception right there. But 2 guys that were leaders on our football team make the big plays there that game. And then in Super Bowl 28, this was the big play. This was the back crusher in the third quarter because we were down going into halftime. After halftime, we came back, got our identity back. Emmitt Smith makes this nice run, gets some great blocks up front, and then DeMarco Murray can make that run right there, bro. Any day. But I'm just saying, I think that one, for me, was the backbreaker for the Buffalo Bills because we finally, in the first half, we were going back and forth. Buffalo was up, and then we finally got back to running the game and running the ball, and Emmitt breaks that long run.
How different is a Super Bowl game from other games that you played in? Like, what's that vibe?
It's
like?
The nerve. It's the nerve going into the game because you know it's the last one. And it's not a basketball series where you got 7 games or a baseball series where you got, so many games. You have to win one game. And you have to be on the top of your game going into that. So leading up is where all the pressure is. But once you get there and you see the flyby and you do the national anthem, you get past that point, it's football all over again.
Yeah, well, you played football pretty well, brother.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Those rings look pretty good in your hand, too. We'll go to Darren's home state of Arizona now, the Cardinals, who finished 11th in our survey. Their first Super Bowl appearance came in Super Bowl 43 against the Steelers. Heck of a game. You may remember that one. So now they have, the James Harrison, the 100-yard kickoff return. They add a rookie quarterback this offseason. They add Bradford as well. Why do you think they're coming in at 11? Let's look back at this Super Bowl. Here we go.
Well, I remember this play, man. Great play by James Harrison, but I didn't think he was going to make it. Honestly, with all those red shirts around him, I didn't think he was going to make it. And, he breaks out of the pack right here. But a great run, great effort for him to get here. But watch this guy at the end here. Larry Fitzgerald never gives up on this play, and they get him down there. But big-time football play.
There you go. Kurt Warner. And the truth about this game was this is the hero.
This is the guy.
It's not for the toe tap was his one foot on top of the other with Santonio Holmes at the end. This is the hero of the game, right?
Yeah, this is the big play right here. And they ran this play basically. They just flipped it. And if you remember on the other side, Clancy Pendergast was the defensive coordinator for the Cardinals at the time. They ran the same play on the opposite side. And they turned around and flipped it and ran it on the other side and made the big play. But Pendergast, the defensive coordinator, knew exactly what was coming on that play. Pittsburgh executed it well.
So for you, why do you think then that we have Larry Fitzgerald, you have a healthy David Johnson? Why do you think the Cardinals are coming in at 11?
Well, listen, I think they're middle of a pack as far as the offensive line. They're not a team that's going to dominate the front, for one. Larry Fitzgerald's getting a little older. The quarterback position is one that we're still waiting on to see what happens. If they can, stay healthy at the quarterback position with Sam Bradford, or is there going to be Rosen that's going to come in? So I think that's a huge question mark. But my biggest problem with this team is David Johnson. Can he stay healthy for the entire season? Because I think that's the only way they get there, is if he can stay healthy, make plays not only in the running game but in the passing game as well to get this offense on the field and into the end zone. And then defensively, they've had so many changes over the last couple of years. Calais Campbell's now in Jacksonville. Tyrann Mathieu, who's a guy that was a big-time player for them in the back end, he's no longer there. So free agents losses that they've had in the last couple of years have really hurt this football
Calais
team.
Campbell one was tough, wasn't it?
Oh, that was a tough one, man.
And you see the impact in Jacksonville?
Oh, instant. Not just his play, it's what he brought to the locker room. The leadership that he brought to the locker room in Jacksonville has really elevated that football team.
Yep.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm as happy as a clam.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will be, quote, as happy as a clam, unquote. The Geico legal team cannot accurately verify clams even experience the complex human emotional state known as happiness. As an invertebrate mollusk living half submerged on the ocean floor with no arms, legs, or wireless access, what's there to be happy about? A clam's all like, oh, I'm so happy I didn't get turned into New England clam chowder today. Pronounced regionally as chowder. Chowder. Oh, that's so fun to say. What were we talking about again?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
So here's our big move throughout today's show. With the Eagles' first-time Super Bowl champs this past season, we surveyed our NFL analysts to determine the most likely first-time Super Bowl champion this coming season. They ranked the teams from 12 least to number 1, most likely. And the Browns have been at a safe distance from that Super Bowl over the last 2 seasons, to say the least. Their 1-31 record since the start of 2016 is the worst in any 2-year span. And last season, they became the second team in NFL history to go 0-16, while the Browns have never been to the Super Bowl. Their cross-state rival, the Bengals, have reached 2 of them, both times failing and falling to Joe Montana and the 49ers.
In motion, comes right. Back to throw, Montana. Steps up, throws. Touchdown, 49ers! Taylor has it for the touchdown! A 10-yard pass! The 49ers have scored with 34 seconds remaining.
They had me ask my dad what it was like to play in that game. Hasn't talked to me since, to be honest with you. As for the present day, the Browns have had a major movement this offseason. Add 2 quarterbacks, Tyrod Taylor, Baker Mayfield, and, of course, Jarvis Landry. So we'll go to Darren on this one. If we say between the 2, Browns and Bengals, who's most likely to get back to that Super Bowl?
That's a good. I'm going to go with the Browns. Okay. I'm serious because I like what they're doing as far as the skill position. You got Josh Gordon at 1. You bring in Jarvis Landry, who's going to be who's going to terrorize the slot position for everyone. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they've gotten better. They get better as far as talent is concerned. All the offensive line has gotten better. They lose Joe Thomas, but they're still a team right now with Tyrod Taylor at the helm. With Tyrod Taylor, who went to the playoffs. I know you're looking at me crazy, Jeff.
No.
But Tyrod Taylor is a guy who took the Bills to the playoffs last year. I think they got the leadership.
Dude, what is crazy to me is we're talking about, how much does this say about our faith in the Bengals? A team that went 1-31. You're the Browns.
Yes.
You're saying have a better chance than the Bengals.
Yeah, because I don't think the Bengals know who they are anymore. I honestly think. I mean, we always talk about walking into a game and knowing your identity and knowing who you are. Do they run the ball successfully? No, not really. Does Andy Dalton throw the ball successfully down the field? No, not really. I mean, you just don't know who they are. You honestly, you see where Cleveland is going as far as personnel. And I think the personnel is caught up as far as those two teams. I think the Browns are a better personnel.
I got a question. Crazy indictment.
I got a question. When was the last time the Bengals knew who they were? 88?
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a little while. Yeah. Fellow Oklahoma guy and Baker Mayfield, what do you think of Baker's game in the NFL?
I think it will translate well. Baker's a very competitive guy, coming from Oklahoma, obviously, known for big games, bright lights. I think if he can control his emotions, play within himself, and get the ball to Josh Gordon and Jarvis Landry, like you mentioned, there's going to be a lot of players trying to talk trash to him. That's what they do in the NFL. He's a guy that you watch film, you've seen the antics that he's done, Texas Tech, the whole nine, with a lot of emotions, obviously, playing your former school. But I think if he can control himself, learn the offense, really just hone in on his skis, footwork, ball placement, things of that nature, I think he'll have a great year.
I'm all in.
You're all in? Come on, man.
Week 1 starter and just going to ball out.
You think he's a week 1 start over Tyrod Taylor?
I think he's going to digest this playbook so fast, and he's going to get in there and just that swagger. Everybody wants to talk about him toning it down. I feel you to a degree, but Phillip Rivers does it. And
I don't mind that. I think
the players will love him. You get inside Jarvis Landry, you see a quarterback doing the things that he can do, dancing. They'll love that. He's going to bring the locker room closer.
Just got to play well.
Just got to play well.
Wait a minute.
Week 1 starter.
Wait a minute. Week 1 starter. You think he beats Tyrod Taylor out this year?
I think that one of the most underrated assets of a quarterback is processing speed and photographic memory, which Baker Mayfield has. Everybody thought Carson Wentz wasn't going to be ready out of North Dakota State. But guess what? He was so fast at processing the playbook that it was like, oh, boom, he's got this. I think Baker Mayfield's going to be the same.
Oklahoma education as well, so that helped him out. That helped him out.
That just set us back. That just set us all back.
DeMarco, there's a 1,000,001 narratives, right? And we hear them from everywhere that he could be Manziel and all this stuff. Yeah. What do you hear? What do you honestly hear about who Baker is?
I've had the chance to obviously hang with Baker. Met Lincoln, met Coach Stoops. Obviously a great friend of mine, great coach, a lot of respect for that program. Baker's a great guy. He works extremely hard. I've never heard one person say anything bad about him. Going back to Oklahoma, they love him. They rave about him as if he's Sam Bradford. And he won the Heisman just like Sam did. He led that team. A lot of great players. But he's a guy who leads the team the right way. He works extremely hard. And when you see a guy working his butt off as a player, you tend to follow that.
So people like him now.
Oh, they love him. They don't just like him, they love him.
See, guys?
Yeah, eventually, he's not week 1. Now, we'll put a side bet on that one.
We'll talk later.
Yeah, we'll talk later about that.
All right, so as for the other teams, there's a couple of them there in Ohio. It's been 27 years since the Bengals' last playoff win, the longest active drought in the NFL. The last game they won in a playoff environment was 1990, the wild card round against the Houston Oilers. Whew. All right. Who's next on the list? First-time Super Bowl champions is what we're looking for this season. The Lions check in at number 8, most likely to get back and get that first Super Bowl. And the Titans are number 7 on our list. So we'll go to Jeff. What's the key? If you have the Lions, tough division.
Yep.
Vikings, Packers are the headliners. How do the Lions make some noise?
This is not an indictment on Matt Patricia when I say this, but he is the critical component to whether this team succeeds. I wholeheartedly believe that. Matt Stafford, you have a franchise quarterback who I still think is kind of underrated, to be honest.
Yeah, he is.
I don't think people realize how quality he is at that position. And on the defensive side of the ball, which is Patricia's specialty, you got the NFL leader in interceptions in your defensive backfield. You've got a guy in Ziggy Ansah who's going to get you those sacks and the pressure on the quarterback. To me, this is the perfect example of a team that needs the coaching to bring it all together, and that will be on Patricia's shoulders.
The Lions have been around for 52 seasons of the Super Bowl and have never played in the game. That's tied with the Browns for the most NFL seasons without a Super Bowl appearance. As for the Titans, they have been to a Super Bowl and it ended, as you may remember, historically short. Here's the tape.
It has never happened in Super Bowl history for a team to score on the last play of regulation. McNair drops, throws right side for Dyson. He dives for the end zone. Didn't make it. He came up 1 yard short. The Rams win by a yard, and the St. Louis Rams are champions of the world.
So DeMarco Murray was not a member of the Titans team back in '99, but he was over the past 2 seasons. So I think it's fair for you to now talk about this team. Marcus Mariota, how far away is this group? Where are they?
I think they're close, adding some strength. Malcolm Butler, secondary. Since I've been there the last 2 years, secondary has been a weakness for the team. Defensive line, been very strong, led by Jarrell Casey, Brian Arakpo. If they could hold up in the back end, now that they have better rushers as well, I think Marcus can lead this team very deep. Marcus needs to take a couple steps in his vocal game if he can be a more vocal leader when it comes to the receiver. We had a young group. Corey Davis missed a lot of time last year, had the ankle, had a couple of hamstrings like myself. If Marcus can take helm of this group and tell these guys, hey, I need you here at 10 yards instead of 8. We have to be on the same page. There has to be a lot of transparency, and Marcus needs to come out of his shell a little bit and really lead that group, and I think they'll be fine.
From year 1 to year 2 as a running back, what's the learning curve? What's the biggest adjustment that you kind of feel inside of your game that Henry may be having now year 2?
I think for him, now that he'll be the head guy, I think he can understand and get more reps. It's all about repetition. Some guys learn better on the board. Some guys learn better with the reps. I think for now, he'll be able to get those reps. I think he can take advantage of those reps, and he can run north and south. When he becomes an east and west runner, that's when it's an advantage for the defense. They can swipe him down at the ankles. He needs to continue to run the ball downhill. He's a big guy. Nobody wants to tackle this guy before quarters. Nobody wants to tackle this guy before quarters.
I've been in that Titans building this past year when those two were in there. Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray have to be the biggest running back duo in NFL history. I mean, it is ridiculous, dude. And
he's
scary
a big guy.
Yeah. And that's the thing, I mean, as a safety, you just you don't want to see big running backs, man. I mean, it's intimidating to start the game knowing that you got, DeMarco coming in, he's playing downs, and you got Henry at the same time, and it can be demoralizing. That's the hardest thing when you're playing against a good running team is it demoralizes you because it's a physical battle, and if you lose that physical battle, then you're just wiped out.
We have DeMarco's top 5 running backs coming up. I mean, I have to say that I'm fired up. I got to say, I pitched the idea in the meeting. I didn't think he was going to accept, and he accepted. I can't wait.
I
cannot wait.
He's not allowed to include himself. Otherwise.
We have the next 3 teams on the list coming in. The Panthers are going to be at 6. We have the Texans coming in at 5. The Jags coming in at 4. Carolina has lost it was to New England in the Super Bowl. That was Super Bowl 38, and Denver in Super Bowl 50 with Peyton Manning, the big Von Miller strip sack, of course, you may remember. How far away is this Panthers team, you think, from getting back?
Look, I think they're there. I still think they're a team that, again, we talk about identity, and we know when they were at their best is when Cam was doing a little bit of everything, running the ball physically in between the tackles on the outside and throwing the ball, making the right reads. That's when they're at their best. But he has to be dynamic with both his arm and his legs. You can't just say, hey, sit in the pocket and throw the ball down the field, Cam, and we're going to beat you. He's got to do both to win football games. I think this defense is going to get better. The NFC South, all together. I mean, from Atlanta to the New Orleans Saints to the Carolina Panthers, I think those 3 teams right now, if you put those 3 teams together right now, that's going to be a battle to be had. I think Cam can easily, if he buys into the Norv Turner system, and Norv is the new guy there, if he can buy into that system, he could be lights out for this football team.
Let's go to the Texans, Jeff. So you get Watt back, Watson healthy in theory. You hope that he comes back healthy. Honey Badger comes over. Yep. Where is this group?
Look, my concern is not about Deshaun Watson as much as it is about J.J. Watt's availability. This defense has the potential to be a championship group with Whitney Merciless up front. You just talked about Honey Badger. If J.J. Watt can stay healthy for the season, this Texans team has all the potential in the world.
What's the feeling about how good Honey Badger is? This is the prove it year, right?
I mean, he's out there for a 1-year deal, right? To go prove it? He's going to be okay.
Would. We said.
Yeah, listen, versatility. You know, you're talking about Tyrann Mathieu. You can put line up in the slot, on the outside, the safety position, and do a little bit of everything.
We'll go to the Jags now. DeMarco, they go to the AFC Championship game. They have the Patriots all over the ropes. Do they get back, or is this a step back in 2018?
I think they do get back. Very strong defense. Their front seven is probably the best front seven in all of football. Number one scoring defense last year. I think they can get off the ball very quickly. So it gets them time to obviously play well on the secondary because they know their front seven will get to the quarterback. They won't have that time. This Jaguars defense is unbelievable. Telvin Smith, the linebacker, one of the most athletic linebackers in the NFL.
Which defense are you guys all in on right now?
Jaguars.
Yeah.
All in. It took the NFL and the sports world probably, 12 weeks before people started to realize not only was the Jaguars like the number one defense in the NFL, but they were stacked, loaded, and still are with talent. And by the way, I've made this very clear. Jalen Ramsey is like my favorite player in the NFL. That guy
Love
is
him, man.
going to be...
Look, they're good. They're strong on all three levels. I mean, they rush the passer. The linebackers are strong. They have two of the best corners in the league. They've got a good safety in Barry Church. They're a team that can create a lot of havoc. And this is a team that, they had a lot of momentum last year, created a lot of confidence, and they're three quarters in with the New England Patriots on the road. They probably could have won that football game.
By the way, the Texans are probably sitting here like, man, we got J.J. Watt back, Whitney Merciless. Enough about this talk about the Jaguars. We're coming to play, too.
What about a dude like Ramsey, DeMarco? Like, when somebody comes into the league real young and they're trash-talking their head off, how do you feel about that?
For me,
you fight him.
No, he's a guy that backs it up well. He's a great corner. He's a great corner, probably the best corner in that division. Jalen, he's a long guy, very athletic, very fast, and he has a knack for the ball. I mean, he's a guy that does talk a lot of trash. So I try to stay away from him, but he's an ankle biter at times. He needs to learn how to tackle better. I think if he can tackle higher and not shoot for the ankles as much, but he's a great player. He's a great player. A lot of respect for him. But he definitely does talk a lot of trash.
Talking trash about Brady before the AFC Championship game.
That's how it works. Brady loves it, according to my man. Brady's all in on that.
That's right.
The Jaguars are going to get back to the playoffs for the second straight year, something they haven't done since the 1990s, late 1990s, that is.
Yeah.
Back to our survey of our analysts on the heels of the Eagles winning their first Super Bowl title. We asked our team to rank the most likely first-time Super Bowl champs among the 12 teams that have never won it. We're up to number 3 in the Chargers. They have played in one Super Bowl, and it wasn't pretty.
This is a good exercise, by the way. It's fun to do this. I actually did it with my buddies watching the England round yesterday.
It's healthy.
Everybody's got some good opinions on this one.
It's healthy. Here's the game. Here we go.
Unbelievably great throw by Steve Young. Someone take the monkey off our back,
please. There you go. Our colleague Steve Young finally got the monkey off his back. Super Bowl 29 it was against the Chargers. These days, it's the Chargers' 15th year with quarterback Phillip Rivers. And the monkey is still on his back, unfortunately. Still has not got that championship as the winningest active quarterback without a Super Bowl win. There you go. So we welcome you now into the Verizon Film Room. Let's talk about this Chargers team. Made all kinds of moves. Seems to be a whole lot closer. What are you hearing about around the league about where this team is and how deep they may be able to go?
That they're coming up. I mean, truly, the opinion, I feel like we talk about this almost every year, and because Phillip Rivers is in the mix, in the conversation, by the way, as a Hall of Fame quarterback, because he is in the mix, there is a sense that he's going to get there. But all of a sudden, you have your tight end, who was supposed to be the replacement for Antonio Gates, gets hurt, he's out the entirety of the season. So there's a serious question mark for me heading into the season. But there are plenty of weapons. Melvin Gordon, you've got guys in there that are going to make this offense tick, that are going to be helpful to Phillip Rivers. So around the league, though, it is definitely that hot pick in the underground world for a team that maybe is going to make that run.
That secondary's coming up. They got talent in the secondary, and then they have 2 bookend defensive ends with Ingram and Bosa on the outside. And
Bosa.
Bosa. Yeah. And
Joey Bosa seems like he's invisible. Nobody's talking about him.
Yeah. And because they're on the West Coast, you don't see them a whole lot on the East Coast. But this is a team that's like a field goal away from making it to the playoffs last year. And Phillip Rivers, if he plays at a high level again with Keenan Allen and Melvin Gordon, those weapons, man, they got a shot.
They're like the Clippers.
They are.
You know?
Exactly.
That's a heck of a comparison.
Sorry.
We'll see. Number 2 now on our survey of most likely first-time Super Bowl champs this season. How about the Falcons? The Atlanta Falcons, who came so close to winning it 2 years ago. It was Super Bowl 51. You guys know the story. Atlanta had the 28-3 lead in the third quarter against the Patriots. And then this happened.
That's where it went south.
South?
Antonio
Evans to the ground, man.
Devontae Freeman actually could have picked up this blitz at the same time. Look, I thought this Falcons team was primed and ready to win this football game. And even going into, I know they had a 25-point lead and whatnot, but this was a team, personnel-wise, that was there to win this football game. And what happens after this? They lose this game. Next year is a down year because they got the slump. Yep. But they still have the personnel within this football team to make things happen.
They got to get offensive identity back, man.
Yeah.
You got to keep running the ball. Devontae Freeman, they shouldn't have stopped running the ball in the Super Bowl. He's a great player.
That's true.
I still go back to why do you call pass there? I mean, that's the one.
We could all second guess it and all.
But it's easy to do. But then, hey, let's in fairness. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles, they called a fearless game.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's exactly what it took to beat the Patriots.
Exactly. And I think that's what the Falcons did. They took the foot off the pedal. Yeah. They could easily have one of these rings that they're in my pocket. I don't want to bring it up.
So the Falcons come in at number 2 on the list. How close do you think they are, Wood?
I think they're close to getting there. And again, they're playing in the NFC South division, which is loaded with talent. You got to get past the New Orleans Saints. You got to get past the Carolina Panthers at the same time. But they're a team right now built on both sides of the ball. Offensively, you have Matt Ryan, you have Julio Jones, you have Devontae Freeman, you got a load of talent. And defensively, they have to find a way to get to the quarterback. That's the biggest issue that I see with this football team right now. A lot of good personnel, but get to the quarterback, get sacks, get strip sacks.
All righty, we'll go to number 1 on our survey from all of our ESPN analysts. The number 1 most likely team that has never won a Super Bowl to finally get one, and it is the Minnesota Vikings. Like the Bills, they were 0-4. They are 0-4 in their Super Bowl appearances. As you look at some of these Super Bowls right now, this is Charlie West fumbles the kickoff midway through the second quarter. The Chiefs score. Anybody remember this one? Anybody old enough to remember this one?
No, man.
What was that? I just said something. Don't get sensitive.
Oh, now we're definitely in trouble.
Yeah.
They have face masks on?
Grainy footage of Darren.
I'm not sure they have face masks on. Oh, there we go. That's a face mask and a half right there. So there we go.
Did the kickers wear cleats when you played?
Hey.
Or was that back in the barefoot days?
Hey, here's Fran Tarkenton right there. Tarkenton.
Spoiler alert, they lost this one too. There you go. Now they're 0-3 officially in Super Bowls. Oh, jeez. Steelers. The steel curtain, man.
Yeah.
The steel curtain.
Steelers.
And this is the final Super Bowl that the Vikings have lost. And they almost hosted one this year. This has been the first team to ever host the Super Bowl if they had. And not quite.
I don't think I was alive during this time.
You can tell.
These are painful to watch. These are painful highlights to watch.
How young we are? We're like, I have no idea when this happened.
I think I may have been old enough.
There you go.
I know him.
Yeah. He's the guy with the football, the video game.
He's the guy with the video game.
Love that guy.
There's the numbers. There's the Super Bowl numbers. Man, are they ugly. How about 15 turnovers? 15 turnovers to their opponent's 3. The good news if you are in Minnesota.
Yeah, you got a run coming.
And you need some good news. If you're in Minnesota, coming off the way that last year ended, I think Kirk Cousins is in the building. The defense is there. It seems like it's time. We voted you number 1 most likely. What do you think about this team and where they are?
I think they'll be led by their defense. Their defense has been playing lights out the past couple of years. Harrison Smith is a great player. I think he leads that team. I think he's the leader of that defense.
That's right.
Then you think of Terrence Newman. I was in Dallas with this guy. He's still playing at a very, very high level. I love everything that he brings, his leadership, and he's a great player. He's a great person for that locker room, and I think this defense is unbelievable. You got Kendricks in the middle. He's looking for a new contract. Hopefully he gets it. He deserves it as well. But this defense, this front 7 defense, they get after the ball at all times, and they're hungry every time they play ball.
How many Mike Zimmer defenses have you played against? What's different about those groups?
A lot. They have a knack for the ball. They love turnovers. Somehow they find ways to punch the ball out when you're not looking. Receivers, clone the quarterback. They find ways to get turnovers and get the ball back in their offensive hands. Now you have Kirk Cousins, guy who's a great quarterback who can lead this team very well. So we'll see how they do next year.
We'll go back to the survey. We'll have the grade 3 here. Looks like we got it right behind us. We'll get it there, and bingo. There's the survey. What do you guys think? Did you get this thing right?
I love the Vikings at the top, by the way. I just think I think that's with Kirk Cousins coming in, that defense is stacked. The one that I'm a little I think the Jaguars should be higher.
Absolutely.
I agree. I actually have them number 2.
Yeah, I would put them at number 2.
But again, I think it's kind of like the Chargers, like the forgotten few there. And the Texans are probably saying they make a case. But if it's my top 3, it's Vikings, Jaguars.
I would sneak the Titans at number 5.
Oh, you would?
I would sneak the Titans ahead of the Texans. Of course, yes. I think the Titans are a far better team than the Texans.
Meaning that the Panthers would slide.
Even with?
The Panthers would slide,
Watson,
yes.
Even with Watson.
Even with Watson.
Titans are better.
I believe the Titans are a better team than the Texans. Yes,
Titans
I agree.
Return to the playoffs this year?
They will. They should. They should return.
That's some home cooking. That's some home cooking going on.
I still live in Nashville. I still live in Nashville. I love Nashville.
That's right.
I still live there. I love it.
You just don't beat Nashville.
Before you hit the road for any vacation this summer, visit GNC. You need to stay healthy, and GNC has the highest quality solutions and supplements in the industry. GNC brand products pass up to 150 quality checks. You can be sure you're getting the best prices with GNC's price match guarantee. GNC doesn't just match prices, they beat them by $1. Or try something new. If it's not right for you, return it for a full refund. You heard it right, a full refund. This summer, live well with GNC. Exclusions apply. See an associate or GNC.com for details.
All right, Darren, so you cross paths with the great LT a couple times throughout your career. What do you remember about playing against?
First of all, I idolized LT growing up.
Yeah.
Every guy that played defense wanted to be Lawrence Taylor. I remember my first year at the Dallas Cowboys going up to the Meadowlands and playing against the New York Giants, and he was a defensive end, and we had the punt team, and I was a part of the punt team, and I was the wing back on the punt team. LT, they didn't bring their punt return teammate. LT ended up staying out there to rush.
Yeah.
And I was lined up across from him, and I looked across from him, and he said, "Look, young fella, I'm not going to come full speed. Relax." Because obviously he could tell I was a little nervous.
I bet.
He came across and gave me a little shiver when the ball was snapped. And I can remember him hitting me, and I was just bracing myself. And he pushed me back a little bit, and then he said, he let me go, and then he just slapped me on the back of the head like, "Go ahead, I told you I wasn't going to." I mean, I just...
You don't play special teams.
The nerves, exactly. The nerves, just
teams.
lining up across from him, the nerves that I had that day, because he's a guy that you idolize all these years, and now here he is against you, and the fear of him pass rushing me at the time was just enormous.
I still wouldn't want him pass rushing me. LT, there you go. All right, so we'll put a little bow on this show in the form of a ring. Which player who has not won a Super Bowl yet, which player would you most like to see get their first ring? We'll start with you, DeMarco. Who are you going with?
Got to go with my man Larry Fitzgerald. He's a guy who's done it the right way on and off the field for a long time, over a decade. Man of the Year, all it's missing is a Super Bowl ring. And my Oklahoma guys are there, Sam Bradford, Jermaine Gresham. I would love to see those guys get a ring as well. But Fitzgerald's he's a class act, a guy who mentors a lot of young players, does a lot for the Arizona community.
Right, man.
He's a guy that definitely deserves
Everybody's rooting for that guy.
Yeah, including myself. I just think that the way he's played over the years and how he handles himself in the community, man, and being from Phoenix and knowing what he's done in that community is huge. I hope this guy at some point gets one.
Who you got? Who's your guy?
I'm going to say Phillip Rivers. Since he picked Larry Fitzgerald, I'm going to go Phillip Rivers. Listen, I've always been a fan of Phillip Rivers. I love the way he approaches each and every game. He's a trash talker like we talked about earlier. He'll get in your face. He'll always challenge you. And he's not only going to challenge the other team, but he'll challenge his own receivers. He's one of the elite quarterbacks of our time that hasn't gotten there.
I got one.
And if he gets one,
what's his legacy if he doesn't?
Listen, I think if he gets one, he's first ballot Hall of Famer.
That's right.
Wow,
if he gets one, and I think that's how great football is.
I got my guy who might not be a household name, but you two are going to like this one. Terrence Newman.
That's my dude.
My man.
That's my guy.
He knew.
The Minnesota Vikings, and he might get it. Yeah. What people don't realize, everybody wants to talk about Tom Brady, the fountain of youth, these kickers who play to their 46. This guy is playing probably the most athletic position on the field, and he's doing it when he's going to be 40 years old. And you know what his key to success is? This is the ultimate reason why I want him to get there. He says that red wine is the reason.
I can agree with him.
Listen, he was a rookie And with the Dallas Cowboys when he came in.
I love this guy, man. And it'll be so much fun.
I'm going to tell you what. Twitter, Instagram, take it easy on my man. Let's get Matt Ryan a ring. How about this guy? I mean, come on. You just started to feel bad for him. You know what I'm saying? I did
Uncle Rico. I don't feel too bad.
I'm sorry I called you DeMarcus, man. I'm sorry about it.
It's all good, brother.
Sorry.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm as happy as a clam.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will be, quote, as happy as a clam, unquote. The Geico legal team cannot accurately verify clams even experience the complex human emotional state known as happiness. As an invertebrate mollusk living half submerged on the ocean floor, with no arms, legs, or wireless access, what's there to be happy about? A clam's all like, oh, I'm so happy I didn't get turned into New England clam chowder today. Pronounced regionally as chowder. Chowder. Oh, that's so fun to say. What were we talking about again?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.